It is great to be here. Thanks to CGR for having me. Thanks to the local steward office for having me as well. We're going to talk a little bit tonight, about 20 to 25 minutes, about the foreclosure process and a little bit about short sales. My office is in Fort Collins. Just as a little bit of background, we do probably 40 to 50% of our sales across Greeley, Weld County, Boulder, Larimer are all short. I mean, it's a big part of the business. I was actually thrilled to see your statistics. And I'm going to go ahead and put up your local foreclosure stats. And what can we make of that? I was studying those and saying, wow, I wish I lived here. This is great as far as I'm concerned. In northern Colorado, that would be about one good week in the 3 counties I cover. The 215 you see for year to date. So congratulations. I'm listening, and I hear it's tough here, but you've got a great market. I think you're in good shape as far as the foreclosure aspect goes. But what's the trend you see? Probably jumping up just the bare gross number from 90 to 215. You're a little more than double where you were the same time last year. What else can you glean from this? We're going to talk about how the foreclosure laws changed at the beginning of 2008. What caught my eye was that more of these deals are going to sale. In 2008 and 2009, 87 of them went to sale. About over 40% it looks like. What that's telling me is what I deal with on the Front Range every day, that they're probably upside down or short, that people are letting them go to sale. They made a little more of an effort in prior years to keep your property through a redemption or a cure by paying back what you owe, either your missed payments or paying off the entire loan. So, I don't know that you can make a lot of that. I asked Todd, our local person at Stewart, did you see a lot of timeshares in that number? And he said no. So that's probably one more statistic. I owned a title company in Summit County for about 7 or 8 years, so I'm familiar with mountain real estate. Our foreclosure stats have always been skewed by timeshares. I threw those out, don't really count them. I guess it would be interesting to note here that these are mostly condos and single-family homes. So, and probably some of them are going upside down, and people are letting them go to a certificate of purchase and a sale. But all in all, with the number of dwellings you have here, this is not much. Not much at all. Something to feel good about. But the reality is, you will see, if not foreclosures, you will see distressed property in this market. I think that the resort markets, have a little bit different makeup, obviously, than the Front Range area. You probably have more people here that can afford to ride out the market. They don't have to put their property on the market and take a loss. So that's probably going on up here as it has in other of our mountain markets. So hopefully we don't see that number increase. But let's move on to just what's going on in the area of foreclosure in the state of Colorado. Some important new laws were put into place at the beginning of 2008. And golly, that looks complicated, but it's not. I'm going to give you a little bit of background. The foreclosure laws in the state of Colorado were unchanged for over 100 years. There was this notion that we should have a redemption period for owners. If somebody goes into foreclosure, let's rush them right to the foreclosure sale. Within 60 days, we can be selling their home. But let's give them a long period of time after the sale to come up with all the money that they owe to pay off that loan. Now, made no sense. I mean, I think what was happening, people never had any ability to consider their options once they got into distress or when a foreclosure was started. I mean, they were literally backpedaling about what to do. But they got this great 75-day redemption period where they could come up with all the money, after it went to sale and get it back and save their equity, in theory. We're going to talk about short sales in a little bit, where there's not any equity. The reality is, what do you think the redemption ratio was? I mean, how many people could really come up with all the money they owe? About 5% of people ever redeemed. It wasn't a very effective way to run a foreclosure. And in our state, they are non-judicial foreclosures. That means we don't go through the court system. They're done through a public trustee's office. What I want to point out here, and what the legislature changed in 2008, was saying we recognize that this redemption period, even though it sounds important, like something we ought to have for the owner, they're not using it. And again, I could probably teach a whole other class about how investors probably took advantage of those redemption periods. They just weren't seeing it used properly. And what this graph points out over here is there's a document called the NED, and I promise not to make this technical, but a Notice of Election and Demand, that piece of paper when that lender has had enough missed payments that they want to start a foreclosure. That's how we start a non-judicial foreclosure in the state of Colorado. The notice of election demand is recorded with the clerk and recorder. That's when the clock starts ticking. And again, prior to 2008, we had you at a sale faster than you could even consider your options. Today, they have decided we will make a longer pre-sale period or a cure period. That time where you can make up your missed payments and reinstate your loan. So you can see we've gone all the way from 60 days to almost 125 days is the maximum that we can go to for a sale to be set. So now we have 4 months. Again, still not a lot of time, but much more time to consider all the options that we're going to talk about. A deed in lieu, a short sale. We're going to talk about those deals. A loan modification, possibly a bankruptcy. I can really sort things out. But they took away the owner's post-sale redemption period. When it goes to sale, the owner is out. You're done. Okay? I think it's a fair trade-off. I think most of the attorneys that I talk to in the state that do foreclosures, it is good for consumers to have this longer period. So that's the big point of that. Know that a sale can be continued for up to 1 year, and you shouldn't be able to be afraid to ask for that. They extended the time period that a sale can be continued. So a lender, even though they started foreclosure, if they see some activity that is favorable to them, a loan modification is being worked on, a short sale is being worked on, and they see it as a reasonable sort of effort, they can extend that sale date week to week or to a date certain and not have to restart the foreclosure. So I would say easily over half the foreclosures getting filed that I'm seeing on the Front Range are getting extended by any sort of activity to try to modify the loan or short sell it. But know that, again, once it's gone to sale and you let it go to sale, the owner is out. Their options are pretty well over. Junior lien holders are still out there and have redemption periods too. So somebody who is in a second lien position or third lien position, they've shortened up the time period for which you can redeem the property and take it from the foreclosing lender. Well, that's the quick segue here. We have much more time now. In my office on the Front Range, again, a different market than yours, but we're using this time, straight time, to work with distressed property owners. And I use the word distressed because not everybody is in foreclosure. Not everybody has an NED file. More often than not, we see somebody coming to me that says, I see the locomotive coming. I'm going to miss a payment. I need to talk to somebody about what my options are. And frankly, under the new real estate rules here in Colorado, we have a new law kick in. It's called the Foreclosure Protection Act. That a seller who is in distress more than 30 days, they've missed the payment, they're more than 30 days late, they get all sorts of protections under Colorado Consumer Protection Law. So it's important for the realtors in the group to know, what's going on with the property. If I'm going to list it, try to buy it, try to sell it. Is it, we can easily check from the public records whether it's in foreclosure, but to know whether they're delinquent or not, we have to have the homeowner tell us that. So in any case, now we're going to use this 125-day period to take a look at our options real quick. Okay? If I represent a client in a real estate transaction, I want to tell them what sort of things they can consider. I can't give legal advice if I'm a realtor. If I'm a homeowner, I probably can't afford legal advice. Where do we start? Start looking at our options. We'll take a look at that next slide.